If I had 90 days to help someone fix their mental health, and let's assume I knew nothing about them, here is exactly what I would have them do from the very first day to the very last day. On day 1, the very first thing we would do is track. We need to know where you're starting, because if we don't know what's working and what's not, there is no way to tell if you're making progress. So here is how I would set it up. We would track down your mood. I'd have you rated every day at the same time on a scale of 1 to 10, just one number per day. We would also track your sleep. How many hours are you getting? But not just the hours. I would have you give a quick rating for quality. Was it restful or was it restless? We would also track movement. Did you get up and move your body throughout the day? What type of movement was it? And did you get your heart rate up? We would also track your social life. Who did you spend time with and how supportive were those interactions? I would have you give a quick rating on those too. And of course, we would look at nutrition. Did you hydrate well? Was it mostly whole foods or was it mostly processed? Did you get some protein and vegetables in? Those 5 areas, mood, sleep, movement, social life, and nutrition, give us the foundation. It's basically an overall assessment to highlight where am I right now. And then every 2 weeks, day 15, day 30, day 45, we would come back to these numbers because that's how you can tell if you're moving in the right direction. Sometimes the numbers will barely move at first, and that's okay. Sometimes you'll notice small changes and sometimes you'll see nothing shifts, which tells us we may need to adjust. Day 1 is all about creating that baseline, getting that data down, and once we have that, that's when we move into days 2 through 10, where we start laying the foundation for the habits that we actually want to build. Once we got that baseline from day 1, now it's time to create the plan. Days 2 through 10 are all about laying the foundation. This is where we decide which habits we are going to build, and they have to be sustainable, realistic, and actually helpful. So here's what I would do. If you're sleeping poorly and that's hurting your mental health, I would have you set a realistic bedtime. Not something extreme, but a consistent routine for when you go to bed and when you wake up. For movement, I would look at your baseline and build up from there. If you're barely moving right now, maybe we start with 5 minutes a day. If you're already moving a little, maybe it's 20 to 30 minutes. The goal is to increase your movement by about 10% compared to where you're starting. And ideally, that your movement should get your heart rate up, because that's when you start releasing endorphins, which can lift your mood. So maybe at first it's small, but the idea is to gradually increase it week by week. And I would also have you put it down on paper, calling it, "This is my realistic plan for each day and each week." For nutrition, after we've looked at what you're currently eating, I would have you ask some simple questions. Are you hydrating enough? Can you cut down on processed foods? Can you add more vegetables, more protein, more whole foods? And it doesn't need to be some extreme diet. It just needs to be balanced, something you can keep up with not just for the next 90 days, but for the rest of your life. That means you can and should still treat yourself sometimes. Build it into the plan. If it isn't realistic, it's not going to last. Now, those are the behavioral habits: sleep, movement, nutrition, but we don't stop there, because I'd also have you start working on cognitive habits. These are the habits of thought, the patterns in your mind. And here's the thing, behavioral habits are easy to see and easy to track, but cognitive habits are invisible, and yet they're just as important. This is really where your mental health lives. So once we build those behavioral habits, sleep, movement, nutrition, now it's time to level up. This is what takes someone from good mental health to great mental health, and that's where cognitive habits come in. These are habits for your mind. They're like exercise for your thoughts, and I want to give you one of the best techniques I know for this. It's called the Positive Scavenger Hunt, and I'd have you started very early in this 90-day plan so it becomes second nature later on. Here is how it works. At the end of each day, I would have you sit down and think about all the realistically good things that happened to you, no matter how small. Maybe your morning coffee smelled amazing. Maybe it tasted just right. Maybe it gave you that little spark of joy. All of that counts. And you don't just note what was good. You also reflect on why it was good. The second part matters. It locks it in. Now here's the trick. At first, your mind will list the obvious good things. That's easy, but pretty quickly you'll run out, and this is where the growth happens. Think of it like doing crunches or push-ups. The first reps are easy, but the ones at the end, the ones that burn, those are the ones that actually make you stronger. The positive scavenger hunt works the same way. When you run out of obvious good things, don't stop. I would tell you to push your brain a little further. Go into detective mode. Search for the small, overlooked moments. Maybe your drive home was smoother than usual. Maybe the barista went out of their way to be kind. Maybe you caught a break in your day and that you didn't expect. These little things count, and finding them is like doing those last few push-ups. It strains your brain just enough to create real growth. When you do this consistently, something powerful happens. Your brain starts to automatically scan for positives. It changes how you see your day. Not only do you feel good in the moment, but your mind becomes trained to keep finding the good. And that's how you build a brain that naturally leans towards resilience and well-being. Alongside the positive scavenger hunt, I would also have you start a very simple mindfulness practice. Nothing complicated, just 3 minutes of sitting, noticing your breath, and gently bringing your attention back when it drifts. That is it. Even this small practice sharpens focus, reduces reactivity, and helps you catch negative thoughts before they take over. It's especially helpful if you struggle with concentration or impulsivity. So by this point, your daily protocol would look like this. Positive scavenger hunt at the end of the day. 3 minutes of mindfulness once a day. Balanced nutrition. Movement increased by about 10% from baseline. But habits don't exist in a vacuum. One of the biggest risks is spending too much time with toxic or emotionally immature people. You may not always be able to avoid them, but even reducing your exposure helps. And it's not just about removing the negative, it's also about adding the positive. That means seeking out high-quality interactions, whether that's dinner with friends, joining a club, or finding a supportive group outside of work and home. By days 10 through 30, the focus is on implementation, tracking the habits, sticking with them, and pushing through the friction of real life. This is where consistency matters most. Because life happens, stuff gets in the way. You get a flat tire, somebody gets sick, something unexpected comes up, and suddenly it feels really hard to keep tracking your progress. A lot of people give up altogether just because they missed a day. But that is complete self-sabotage. We want to avoid that. What we actually want to do is understand that mistakes happen. Now, that doesn't mean we give ourselves permission or excuses to ignore these habits. What it means is that if you miss a day, you meet yourself with compassion. You engage in useful self-talk and remind yourself, just because I missed a day doesn't mean I've lost a whole week. And if you missed a whole week, that doesn't mean you've lost a whole month. Think of it more like a grading scale instead of an all or nothing mindset. So rather than saying, I either did it perfectly or I failed, you can ask, how did I do this week? Was it an A? A B, maybe a C? Even if it wasn't perfect, some effort is always better than nothing. Now, if you're not engaging in the habits, there's usually a reason. There's some kind of cognitive or emotional block. Maybe it feels tedious. Maybe it feels unproductive. Maybe you're just exhausted. Maybe you've got constant distractions at home, like a child needing your attention, and meditating for 3 minutes that day just isn't realistic. So we want to identify what is getting in the way. That's critical, because most people can make a plan. The real challenge is execution. It's just like business. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't execute, it's worthless. A mental health plan works the same way. So when blocks show up, you've got options. You can make the plan easier. You can find a better time to practice the habits. You can cut it down to 1 or 2 key habits instead of all of them, because even if you only stick with one habit, that is still progress. It's always better than doing nothing at all. And sometimes it's the thoughts themselves that block you. Thoughts like, I'm too tired to move, or meditation won't help me, or I'll just get distracted, or I'll feel inadequate if I try. These are the thoughts that we want to challenge and work through so we can still follow through with the healthy behavior. By about day 15, I would have you track again. At that point, I don't necessarily expect big changes yet. The purpose is just to make sure you're not drifting sideways or heading downhill. By day 30 though, I would expect to see some improvement, because by then, hopefully you've worked through at least some of these blocks, and once that wheel is in motion, once the plan is rolling, momentum starts to build. By days 30 through 50, the plan should feel easier. The habits are in place. You've seen some improvement, and that's when a trap shows up. We get comfortable. We think, I'm doing better. I've got this figured out. And then we ease up. We stop doing the very things that got us here. That's dangerous. Mental health is like a car. Just because it's running smoothly doesn't mean you never need maintenance. If you stop, problems will creep back in. So this stage is about guarding against complacency. Keep doing what works. Keep reinforcing the habits that you've built, because this is how stability becomes long-term. And I forgot to mention, back when we created a plan in days 2 through 10, I would also add a cognitive diffusion exercise. One of my favorites is the silly voices technique from Dr. Russ Harris. Whenever you catch yourself having a harsh negative thought, you can imagine it being said in a cartoon voice. It makes the thought less serious, less powerful, and easier to let go. By days 50 through 75, with the foundation strong, we are going to take things further. Sleep, nutrition, movement, mindfulness, positive scavenger hunt, diffusion, they are all running. Now we aim higher. Self-actualization. This is where you ask, what kind of person do I want to be? How do I want to carry myself? How do I want to be seen by the people who matter most? To answer, identify your top 5 values. These become your guiding principles. Then you step into what I call the growth zone. Push yourself with challenges that stretch you but don't overwhelm you. It might be learning a new skill, training for a race, or picking up a creative hobby. The specifics don't matter. What matters is growth. And if time feels tight, you don't stop your earlier practices. You just scale them. Maybe the positive scavenger hunt changes to 3 times a week, or mindfulness to every other day. The key is you keep the foundation alive while creating space for growth. By this stage, days 75 through 90, it's about locking everything in for the long term. First, we go back to values. Remember those top 5 values we identified? The type of person that you want to be? We actually start grading ourselves each day on how well we're living in alignment with those values. So instead of just asking, did I hit my goals today? We ask, did I live in congruence with what matter most to me? Values can look different for everyone. Diligence, playfulness, kindness, assertiveness, supportiveness, whatever yours are, the goal is to keep them at the forefront of your mind, because living by your values is a stronger long-term measure of mental health than simply hitting goals. At the same time, we're still tracking progress. On day 50 and day 75, we have already gone back and compared our mood ratings to day 1. Now, as we hit day 90, we do it again. We look at the data, compare it to where we first started, and see the trajectory. And here's where we make decisions. Which routines worked best for you? Which habits stuck and which ones didn't? Maybe the positive scavenger hunt turned out to be incredibly powerful for you. Maybe cognitive diffusion exercises didn't resonate as much. That's okay. The point is to know what worked and what didn't. This is going to help you set a long-term plan that feels authentic and sustainable. This is also a time to create a relapse prevention plan, because let's be real, life happens, stress happens, mental health can take a dip again. The question is, what do you do when that happens? So we lay it out clearly. Where do I start if I feel myself slipping? Which habits do I bring back first? Do I increase movement? Do I make the positive scavenger hunt daily again? Do I reach out to people more intentionally? Whatever the answers are, you want it written down so you have a roadmap when you need it. And finally, we celebrate. You made it through 90 days of intentional work on your mental health. That deserves recognition. The reward doesn't have to be huge or flashy. Maybe it's something nice just for yourself, or maybe it's helping someone else as a way of paying it forward. Either way, you mark the moment. You say, I did it, and I'm going to keep going. So by the end of 90 days, you've got more than just progress. You've got habits that are ingrained. You've got a relapse prevention plan. You've got clarity on your values and the type of person you want to be. And you've got a system that isn't just for 90 days, it's for life. And that is exactly what I would have you do if I had 90 days to help you fix your mental health.